talking about training, I know you've done a lot of training on negotiation. What are some general competencies you think that negotiation training in the corporate world should involve?
Well, I think negotiation is a technical skill too. And I
Mm-hmm.
think actually learning from negotiators, and you talked about one, there are different styles of negotiation. And we talked about
Mm-hmm.
win-win versus win-lose. And depending on what situation you're in, those styles, when I was negotiating in a litigation context, I'm not having an ongoing relationship. I need to get the most value for my client. So it's a different style of negotiation versus I have ongoing business relationships. So I think what your negotiation training needs to teach is teach you situational awareness of what kind of skill and what kind of approach will work in different negotiations. I also think as a general rule, they have to teach you what kind of persona you are in a negotiation. What I loved about the Scott Works training is they videotaped you and then showed it to you. So you literally had hands-on training. And for everyone, like seeing yourself, if you're a public speaker or you're doing anything, like if someone videotapes you and shows you, you will want to do it differently because you now get a full 360 view of yourself. So I actually think negotiation training should have you do real negotiations simulations, because most training doesn't happen in a book, it happens in real life. And then I think competencies that are really important is creative thinking. Like, is there a
Mm-hmm.
creative solution? Like if they want X and you want Y, is there a W solution, right? Is there something fundamentally different that you could do? Because I think a lot of negotiations where I've been successful is
Mm-hmm.
try and figure out the objectives of both sides and then come up with
Yep.
something brand new. And I think core competencies is being a really good listener, like listening for cues. Like you talked about power, understanding who is the decision maker. Do you have decision makers in the room? There's a lot of tactical things that can help make a successful negotiation. And you talked about one of them, timing is an element. But all
Sure.
of those things, I think,
Okay.
because it is an environment and you need to understand all the different elements that you can bring to that to understand whether or not you can be successful. And then I do think you have to train, and I think we're going to talk about this a little bit more. When is negotiation just not going to be successful? Because I do
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
people assume every negotiation can be successful, and they can't. There are times where negotiation isn't going to meet the objectives of both parties, and that's the time to say, okay, maybe we wait, maybe we need to come back at a later date and try this again.